in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are currently watching this video, I just want to thank you um, for being here, for listening, for joining me in this conversation today. I have some, I think, pretty good topics to kind of discuss today. Before we get into it, I do want to set some intentions. So I'm going to do that now. Just close my eyes, take some good deep breaths, set some clear intentions on coming through authentically, allowing God to, give me those messages that are needed, and to also set the intention that whoever is watching hears a message today that they have been waiting to hear or are needing to hear. So let's go ahead, take some breaths, set this intention. Okay. I think we're good to go. So I want to start out by sharing a phrase that I made up. Well, I don't know if I made it up. I said it, and I never heard it before. The phrase is, you cannot do the right thing the wrong way. You cannot do the right thing the wrong way. So you can see how this phrase is kind of showing that there are a multitude of ways to go about what you perceive or you believe to be the right thing. And that is such a heavy concept, because then it starts to get us into this, well, what is the right thing? How does someone know what the right thing is? That is your own discernment. That is the beautiful thing about being separate individual beings, is that we all have the ability to view those things differently. I would say whatever rings true to you, whatever feels the best for you. And I have no judgment around those things. Actions, words, what you do to others. I believe strongly that we should not hurt others intentionally. And heavy on the intentionally, because we do hurt others and others hurt us. And that is a narrative made and prompts emotion. When you really listen to your core beliefs, you have a internal meter that runs in your body, and you will feel these sensations based off of the emotions you have and the actions that you perform, or the daily interactions you have with others. You will feel this meter, if you will. And when we're doing things that make us feel good or are aligned with what we believe and perceive to be right, we're in this space that is harmonious with our soul. And you can feel that. When we are out of alignment and we are doing things that go against how we perceive what is right and what we hold as true, you feel that as well. Some people have become so detached from feeling that within themselves and understanding and understanding what that truly feels like, because they've detached from their physical body. trying to keep it simple. It's always complicated. What am I talking about? So, the phrase, you can't do the right thing the wrong way. Like, you just can't, right? If I want to do something that feels good to me, there isn't any way to go about doing that. There isn't any instructions. You must do this. So when we get into that confinement of definition, because as humans, we want to define everything, we want to put a definition and take everything, understand it, analyze it, put it in an attainable structure that we can then formulate ideas around, right? That's what we do. We label everything, we describe everything. That is how we interact. That's the way that we interact with this physical world, right? Is that story, that narrative, that conversation in your head, that internal dialogue. The truth is silent. The truth has no words, no sound. The truth just is. And that's a difficult concept. That one's challenging for me to be able to put into a scenario. The best way to try to do so would be the silent moments and for me, it's in nature. But when you sit somewhere that you feel your most self, your most authentic self, and you're silent and you sit within that space, and there really isn't any thoughts, there really isn't any commotion in your mental space or in your outer space, that it's just stillness. And there isn't even an emotion that goes along with that. It's just, it is. It just is. Pain, suffering, turmoil, all of those ugly things come from the story that we tell ourselves, our internal dialogue. I struggle and I watch others struggle daily with that dialogue, that conversation. You know that somebody really has thought out a full thought and constructed it to be more than just a thought when it leaves their mouth. They have constructed now a feeling, an emotion, a reaction when those words leave your mouth. And I guess what I'm getting at is when we tell each other how we're feeling, that is something that's come from our internal dialogue. When you internally are talking to yourself, and all day you're building up these emotions, and you're saying, this sucks, this is awful, I hate this, why is this happening, why is this happening, who is this, what's going on, like you're just constantly in complaining mode. That dialogue, verbally, even outside, inside, you're creating that, because you are then taking the thoughts in your head, the story you're telling yourself, you're verbally creating that in an energy that leaves your body and is now projecting around you. That is a fact. That is an absolute fact. When you speak words of positivity, and when you're in a higher frequency, when you're looking at situations from a higher perspective, and you outwardly project that, you verbalize it, you're telling the story that's in your mind, you push that narrative outward from your body and then leaves your body. I picture, like, so inside your head you're transcribing a story, okay? And you can sit there as many times as you want, crossing it out, scratching it out, throwing it away, not using it, whatever you're doing with this dialogue. It stays in your head. The second that you write that dialogue out and then use your mouth to verbalize it, it has now become something different. It's transferred from an idea, a thought, to words, and then that energy is then leaving your body. And it doesn't just like float, like it is literally now going to be a projection. I know it's hard for people sometimes to see when we are stuck in that lower frequency of dialogue with ourselves. When we're constantly complaining outward, when we're constantly putting ourselves down, when we're constantly judging others, that impacts us on a massive scale. It's going to then attract more. That's like turning on a frequency inside yourself that says, nah, things suck. And frequencies attract to each other. Energy attracts to the same energy. Like, it's always trying to find itself. So you're just like, everything sucks. Anything close in the vicinity that is in that same frequency is then going to attract to you. So when we get back into that space of a dialogue that is in a higher frequency, and it doesn't have to be, it's not all freaking happy go lucky, everything's fine, nothing's wrong. It's just being intentional with your thoughts and how they will physically manifest themselves outside of your body. I think giving people that perspective of it's not just your thoughts, it's not just your outside. They are literally the same. They correlate. They are connected. They are inseparable. Your outsides are your insides are your outsides. This is your energy plane. So, when we get back into that dialogue of, higher frequencies, changing the narrative to be more authentic to our higher selves and our higher intentions of good, right? We can literally start manifesting that as well. So it's like you transcribe this positive, awesome story. I am loved. I am awesome. I am cared for. I am powerful. I am capable. And when hard things happen, looking from that perspective, like it's okay. Things happen for a reason. This is teaching me something. I'm going to overcome this. This is going to make me stronger. These small inconveniences, I'm just grateful that I have the ability to be here to experience these things. When we change that narrative, we then take that narrative, create that frequency, push that out, and attract that back. And in order to understand how you attract energy or you interact with others or you have this entire internal dialogue, in order to really get that perspective of how you're seeing things, sometimes you have to go outside of yourself and hear what you're saying from the outside. I think it's very important to know how these thoughts affect us. Journaling is such a powerful way to be able to track these emotions, track this story that we're telling ourselves on a day-to-day basis. And I would just really promote the idea of maybe being a little more careful on our thoughts. Our thoughts become our words become our actions become our character is based off of the words that we use to then tell our story. So there, it all comes full circle, but it starts within. And this is not some like woo-wah washed bullshit. It's real. It's not some like, oh, I'm gonna manifest life, everything great, spiritual. Like this is like real shit. It's the real shit. What you tell yourself, you become. What you tell others, you become. And if those aren't in alignment, then you don't know who you are. I'm just gonna be real. Like, if you are not speaking the same way that you are to others, then you are not in alignment with yourself. That was a hard pill for myself to swallow at a point, because it was like, wow, here I am internally. I'm doing all this work. I'm internally, like, I'm my dialogue is matching a higher frequency. I'm telling myself all these positive messages. I'm enlightened. I feel love from myself when I'm in that internal dialogue. And then outwardly, I was this shell, very very much so not authentic. I'd put on a face, I'd become what other people wanted me to become, I'd say what others wanted me to say, I'd be whatever version of me they wanted, I would become that for others. And I still struggle to find ways to overcome that in social situations, because it is our innate primal instinct to belong in a group, to feel included, to feel loved, to feel wanted. Those things are all in our natural ability. What we want, right? When I started telling myself that I needed to share this internal dialogue with the outside world, I was terrified, because it was like, what are people going to say? How are people going to view me? What if they don't like me? What if this happens? What if that happens? I was going all over the place, and finally I just said, shh, try it. Try it. Try it for like a day. Let me know at the end of the day how it goes. So I started doing that. I started just speaking, started speaking freely, and I just started saying whatever I felt. Like, oh, this sucks. And I'd be like, well, what about this? Giving people a better perspective, because honestly, I cannot stand the negative talk that I sometimes have no choice but to deal with, because I still work in a matrix job. So there'll be, people throughout the day just kind of constantly complaining, because it's pretty normal to complain when you're stuck, somewhere for 8-9 hours a day and things go wrong, and it just kind of becomes a habit where you just complain and you look at things and you see the negative of them, and you want to just express that, because then, you know you feel cool, like you feel like we all have something in common, we can all complain, like it's really just kind of a natural thing. But for me, it was always really difficult to hear these negative things, and then I'd fall into like, yeah, you're right, just to try to appease and make others happy, or seem like I was on the same level as them. But internally, that conversation was, no, it's not. Like, why are you thinking like that? Like, but then I had to turn that conversation on the inside into something that I was able to physically verbalize outwardly. As a real life example, today, one of my coworkers was like, oh, I have to go and do this, and I have to go and do that. And I said very sternly, I turned and I looked at her and I said, do you mean that you get to? And I kind of use sarcasm and humor to play into these things, because I'm not going to be a jerk. But I looked at her and I'm like, you mean you get to, right? And I kind of smile, and she looks at me kind of funny, and I'm like, you have the opportunity to do that. I feel like that should be something you're blessed with. There's a lot of people that maybe are in positions that would envy that aren't even capable, that even if they wanted to, couldn't do that. You are physically able to do that, because you're in good health, because you have the mental stability. So for me, I think in that moment it was kind of like, oh, how am I going to take that? Oh, you're right, you're right. And it instantly changed. It's transmuting that negative around you into a positive. And really, I'm just talking outwardly on these lessons that I'm still trying to implement on my everyday experience with, working in a matrix job, but being highly in tuned to the higher elevation of ascension, and being in this world that is full of ways to do the opposite of that. So, anyway, the phrase, you cannot do the right thing the wrong way, really pulling that together with your ability to verbally shift your timeline, shift your life, shift your energies, shift your entire reality, is your dialogue, your internal dialogue, and the way that you express that outwardly. It's the ability to take your outward view, put it in like a little machine in your brain rework it and say, how do I twist this around to be a frequency, an energy, or in like not even frequency, because I know I keep saying that, but I don't know if that's coming across in a way that's understandable. It's shifting your words internally from this sucks to this is something that is teaching you, this is something that's growing you, this is something that will make you better. And then outwardly speaking that, because your actions, your words need to match that internal dialogue, but you need to make sure that that internal dialogue is in tune with your truth, your intuition, your highest purpose, your good. And it all sounds complicated. Why would I do that? Who cares? Blah blah. Like, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. I try to simplify it by simply going back to yourself, back to your thoughts, back to how you talk to yourself. Remember the first lesson, inner dialogue. That inner dialogue controls your interactions, your experiences, where you go, what you attract, who you attract, what you get to experience in this life. That's a huge key. It's a big answer to the questions that you've asked 1,000 and a million times, crying, begging God, please help me, give me this, get me out of this, change my life, make it better. You literally have that ability. You have that. It's a superpower that you literally came here with. You came here with that superpower. We as little children do not know how to speak. We don't have thoughts as little babies. Maybe some people do. I don't know. Just speaking as a general whole. The second we start, we came here with the equipment built in us to learn language, to learn speak, to learn speak, to learn how to speak. We came here with the ability to learn how to interact with others, and really humans. I feel animals, nature, bugs, all of those things, those speak a different language. But the human language, we came here with the equipment built to learn, grow, and have the ability to create our lives. We came here with that. Don't forget, you came here with the ability to be who you want to be. And a million distractions, and a million programs, and a million people, and a million situations and events, and came in and just smacked you in the face and said, no. And you got up a couple times and you said, oh, I'm going to keep trying. No, no, no. And when you get punched so many times, it's pretty difficult to want to stand back up again and say, I can keep doing this. It's when you have to take yourself out of that thought process. It's not happening to you. You are happening. You are happening. You're what's happening. Baby, you got it going on. You're what's happening. And your ability to take your power back is as simple as the words, the language that you speak to yourself. That's step one. I'm going to teach you today. Step one. I'm going to leave you with 2 tasks. One is asking yourself a question. And it's not just like, okay, I asked myself the question, I got to answer. I want you to ask yourself this question over a span of time. I want you to write this question down on a piece of paper. Literally, write this out. What am I telling myself internally? Step one. And you sit on that for a while, because you really need to think about that. What is it that I am creating with my words? And then your second step is to take that answer and use it to free yourself from the chains and imprisonment of believing that you are not the creator of the world around you, because you are. What am I telling myself? That I'm not good enough? Or maybe it's the opposite. That you are the best thing that it's ever existed. That nothing is higher than you. What are you creating around you? Because it's you. And I'm taking it slow to really process this with everyone who's watching, because it's kind of a big concept. It gets a little crazy to explain in my head, because I'm like, whoa, there's a lot to unleash here, Lion. You need to pick a lane and stay in it. But really, it's all of it. It's all of it. You can't do the right thing the wrong way. And you have to learn how you're talking to yourself so you can then control the narrative. That's like the da-da-tss. Can I get a 10-4? Thank you, sir. You are the creator of your story. Your story is what's told in the inside, then spoken on the outside, then created on the outside. In and out. It is not outside's happening. I take it in. I internalize it. It's now in me. That's weird. That's what happens a lot of the time, but that's weird. It's like, I'm just gonna take all the stuff that's going on out here, and I'm just gonna digest that, keep that inside, internalize that, and make that my reality. No, 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 no. Let me say it one more time. You are the creator of your reality. You are. You are. And that's beautiful. You can finally be free from the stories they tell, from what other people are doing, from the things that you see, from the stuff around you, from all of the shit. You're free the moment you decide that it comes from here. From here, from in here. Somewhere. I don't even know where to point, because it's all up in you. First question, how do I talk to myself? Second action, what am I going to do to make sure that I really have my hands on my own narrative, that my character is built off of the words that I internally tell myself, but I make sure that those words are everything that I want myself to be? That there is no space or gap of disbelief in the true essence of who I am, because I know who I am. When you really, really get in there and you stop taking all the crap from the outside and shoving it in, and you start taking what's in here, you start taking what really feels right to you. No one else has to believe you. No one else needs to see it. You do. When you stop trying to focus your attention on making sure others do, it comes back to yourself. Give your energy back to yourself. Pick up your pen today, your spiritual, your soul pen, and write your story. And you do that every day. And you know how stories go. There's going to be good, there's going to be bad, all relative. There's going to be situations that you're not a fan of, or things are going to come up and you're not going to really know what to do or how to deal with them, but you go right back to self and you start talking with yourself and you have that internal dialogue again. You bring it back to you and you say, okay, I still have control. You don't lose control. It's a matter of controlling your life. And controlling, I don't even like that word. We're not even going to say that word. Not controlling. We are putting it back in our hands. We are taking it. We're giving it back to ourselves. The world is not a bad place. You are not a bad person. You are put here for a reason. You know your purpose. If you're if your internal dialogue, if what you're saying outward does not match your insides, then you are not aware of who you are. You don't know who you are. You need to talk to yourself the same way you talk to others. You need to talk to others the same way you talk to yourself. When those two come into alignment, you will see your life change. You will see your life change. It's going to drastically, you're going to be like, holy shit. You're going to wake up one day and you're going to be like, where am I? This life is great. I love it. And you're going to get so used to that high that you cannot do anything else but continue to make your story better. You're going to get so like, woo, this feels so good. You know how you keep feeling good like that? You just keep making your story better. And it doesn't have to make sense to a single mother around you. Excuse my French. I'm sorry. You know, I'm getting a little worked. But it's true. It's true. You can't do the right thing the wrong way. How are you talking to yourself? And how are you going to change your story? I believe in it. I love you. I love you. Nothing's wrong with you. You're just a person learning in the school of life, just like all of us. Keep going. Thank you all for being here with me today. I hope you found this message to be an inspiration and a stepping stool to reach a higher level of understanding. Take care of yourself. The world needs that.